Welcome to this edition of At the Mic, the Thursday deep dive. I am your host, Keith Malinak. So grateful that you have chosen to spend some time with us here today. I will say that it's been 2 weeks. We had Thanksgiving off, so I've missed you, and I appreciate you coming back here. So, and before you do anything else, though, make sure that you like, subscribe, wherever you're watching this. You might be watching this, well, I know right now on Thursday afternoon, you're watching this on X. That's where it's live exclusively. But YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iTunes, available all of those wonderful places. At themicshow.com is where all of the links are available. Thank you, Wes, for always making that happen. Be sure to follow Wes. I got to get my computer graphic here. Be sure to follow Wes over on X at Second Floor Dallas. There you go. Be sure to follow him over there. Also follow Gabby at Jeffy Apologist. She runs the Instagram channel, and she does so much over there at the Mike Show over on Instagram. So thank you for helping this show to grow. Now, today's conversation, I have a guest. I'll bring her in shortly. But my goodness, 2 weeks ago, this wasn't even on my radar to do as a show topic, but I saw a post from someone, and my guest, Kerry Toms, she commented under the tweet, talking about what she was experiencing with this alpha-gal syndrome that is an allergy that you develop once you get bitten by a particular tick. And it's this alpha-gal syndrome is just, in her story, I was like, I got to talk to this individual. I got to get her on this show. So I won't say any more. I'll let her tell her story. And it's amazing. And I feel so bad for those that are afflicted with alpha-gal syndrome, something that I hadn't even heard about until the last couple of weeks. And that's not true. There is a clip that I will play later that kind of, it was curious when I heard it at the time, and now with all that I've learned in the last couple of weeks about alpha-gal syndrome, boy, is that a haunting clip, and that'll be a part of our presentation later. So let me start off. I want to read a little bit from this story before I bring Kerry in here. It's a Daily Mail article from November 20th, and it just starts off like this. The family of a JetBlue pilot were left desperately searching for answers when the healthy 47-year-old suddenly collapsed and died just hours after eating a backyard barbecue burger. Brian Waitzel passed away after suffering severe stomach pains, with an autopsy unable to pinpoint a cause, ruling it a sudden unexplained death in September of 2024. Now, you read that, and I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing. All of those in this audience. I know what I would be thinking. Wonder how many shots he got, how many booster shots he got from the old COVID vax. But here we go. Only now have his relatives discovered that the simple meal triggered a rare and deadly red meat allergy brought on by a single tick bite. His wife, Piper Waitzel, told the New York Times, everything changed in our life in 10 minutes, and to not know why was so upsetting. Yeah, I can imagine. After a year of living in the unknown, a team of physicians and allergists published their findings in the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology, linking Waitzel's death to alpha-gal syndrome. The disease is transmitted by tick bites and triggers a sudden, severe allergy to red meat. Oh, my goodness. Brian ate the hamburger at a barbecue in Wall Township, New Jersey, about 3 p.m. and went home to mow the lawn. And when Piper left the house at 7 p.m., her husband still had no symptoms. Just 20 minutes later, he fell violently ill, according to the medical journal's findings. With Brian's teenage son calling his mom to tell her, quote, Dad is getting sick again, he was then found unconscious in the bathroom. Brian Waitzel, 47, died after experiencing sudden and severe abdominal pain and vomiting, which medical professionals later deemed was from alpha-gal syndrome. There's more to this story. I mean, but let me bring in my guest here. Kerry Toms, she also suffers from this allergy. Hi, Kerry. Thank you for making time. I really appreciate this.
Hi, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this alpha-gal syndrome, it is a it is a nightmare just to read about it. I can't imagine living this way. Um, so what I just read there about this Brian Waitzel in New Jersey, I mean, I hate to say it like this, but I mean, it seems like you're one of the lucky ones in that you're still with us, but we're getting close to 500,000 Americans now diagnosed with this. What happened with you on that? How did you come to realize that this is what you had? What was your story?
About 5 years ago, I was bitten by the Lone Star tick.
Okay.
So I have a background in agriculture and I'm a landscape designer now. So I'm out in the thick of it a lot. So ticks aren't something that's rare for me. But this
Uh-huh.
particular tick bit me on the thigh and it was very, very reactive and it took a long time to heal. I remember that tick. And
Good.
shortly after that, I couldn't eat steak. I would just get violently ill. And I couldn't eat hamburgers. I couldn't eat. One night, I almost went to the emergency room when I ate deer chili. And this all came on suddenly.
When you were suffering through these physical ailments, were you immediately putting two and two together, or are you just in hindsight able to put those together?
In hindsight, there was a man about 10 years ago at the local cafe that was talking about how he nearly died. And it took a long time for doctors to figure out he was allergic to red meat. And I was in the back of my mind thinking, I wonder if that's what it is. But I could still eat pork some, but not, I could eat like a pork chop, but not bacon. But it got to where everything I started to react to, and I just wouldn't eat. So I would eat. I, as time went on, I learned what I could and couldn't eat just by trial and error. But when I would go to the doctors, like if I was breaking out in hives or having anxiety attacks, is what it felt like. They would want to give me anxiety medications. And I was like, well, I don't have any emotional issues going on right now. I just can't breathe sometimes, you know? And then just your gut's always inflamed. And I thought I had a bad gallbladder. You know,
Huh.
it just always be painful there. And a lot of people have their gallbladders removed before they are diagnosed with alpha gal syndrome because a lot
Oh,
of doctors don't know. And
interesting.
yeah, so this
You
went
said this
on.
5 years ago. You said, right?
Hmm.
And 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 I think you were just about to say, how long until you cracked the code and figured it out? Because you went to, oh my goodness, hold on. I think I wrote this down. You can tell us. I think it was what 20 doctors or so before this was figured out, right?
Yeah, over 5 years, I went to a lot of doctors trying to figure out what was going on with me. I just don't feel good. I hurt. I can't eat anything. I didn't eat all day while I was working, and I work, a physical labor job out in the heat and things. And finally, my husband has a doctor that he sent me to, and he immediately knew when I said, oh, I just can't eat any meat anymore. And he said, I bet you have alpha gal syndrome. I'd never heard the term for it. And
Oh.
he had a friend that was a rancher, and he had it. That's the only reason this doctor knew about it. He had never been trained in it. And so he sent me immediately next door to the hospital to have a specific test done, which you can't just get a regular allergy food panel or anything.
Uh-huh.
You have to have the doctor specifically order the IgE test for alpha gal. And
Yeah.
so I was, that was a Friday. By Monday, I knew I had it. And then I started doing a deep dive. And so
Uh-huh.
I had to cut out, um, even though I'd cut out all the meat and everything, I was still never feeling good. I still felt like, because it comes on hours later. That's why it's very hard to understand what's going on with you, because you might go out to eat and then you could be going to bed that night and all of a sudden you're sick.
Yeah.
You can be violently sick or you can just not feel good. And once you have a reaction, I've been to the emergency room several times. They didn't know what it was. And I carry EpiPens with me, you know. But the one thing that I have learned is I had had food allergies prior, and I had had allergies to bees and wasps. So I always had an EpiPen. So I think there's
Hmm.
um, some people can get bit by a tick and not get alpha gal syndrome, and
Okay.
then some people get bit and they do develop it. So
And
I
this is
think,
specifically the Lone Star tick, and I hate that because it gives Texas a bad name. But and we'll get into where this creature lives later. But and like for example, this guy Weitzel, 2 weeks before his death, he was on a camping trip with his wife. He ate a beef steak. woke up in the middle of the night with intense abdominal pain. But his wife recalled that earlier in that year, because that's when it started. But she said that her husband had gone jogging, returned with small bites around his ankles, and it sounds similar to you. Like, do you know where you were when you acquired that? Because you talked about a rash there on your thigh, right?
Yes, I lived on the creek, so we have a large deer population that comes up and down the creek.
Okay.
And the Lone Star tick, a lot of theory is that it travels with the deer, and the deer population has exploded. And so if you look at the map of the deer population and the map of where the alpha gal syndromes are popping up most, it's in pretty much they can overlay each other.
Yeah, and it's working its way east to west. And I don't know if you want to talk about what part of the country you're in, but it's definitely creeping westward for sure.
Yeah, I'm in central Oklahoma.
Okay. Yep. Okay. 500,000. We're up to 500,000 Americans suffer from this. And what I don't know, Kerry, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, pop quiz though. Do you know how many of these are fatal? Do you have any idea?
I don't think that we have a good idea of how many people have passed. Like this guy you're doing the story with now, had they not had the autopsy blood or, to go back after the fact, I think a lot of people have probably died of anaphylaxis.
Even that took over a year after his death to figure that out. And it may sound like on the surface, at least in your case, it may sound like, okay, so now she's a vegetarian, whatever. She can still eat pork. She can still eat chicken. She'll eat fish, whatever. She'll figure it out. It is not that simple. Please talk to us, because when you and I talked on the phone ahead of this conversation, my jaw was just dropped open. Explain how this affects your life. It's not just, I don't get to eat meat anymore. It's far beyond that.
Yes, it's life-changing. It is not just red meat. People call it the red meat allergy, but it's not. It's all mammals. So the only thing you can eat that should be safe is it's called the fins and feathers diet. So fish and chicken.
Okay. So you can't have pork then?
No.
Oh,
gosh. No pork, okay, no dairy.
Fins and feathers. Okay. Oh, no dairy? Yeah.
No dairy, because every part of a mammal produces alpha gal.
And you
no butter.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No ranch dressing.
Oh,
that was the worst.
Tell the story about beef tallow. Beef
tallow, yeah. So I knew I'd been diagnosed, and my family was celebrating something, and we all went to a steakhouse. Well, I know I can't have steak, so I wanted them to enjoy steak, and I just ordered some French fries and a little salad with oil and vinegar, no ranch.
You thought you were playing it safe, girl.
Yes, I was, just being good. And by the time we got the check, I was having one of those anxiety attacks and really hurting. And I just sat there and I immediately pulled my phone out, and my husband knew that I was going to look, because at the time, my entire life evolved around everything alpha gal syndrome. That's all I could think about. I couldn't sleep. I just wanted to research. What is it that's still inflaming me? And by the time we left there, I almost went to the emergency room, but I had my allergy stuff with me. And what we found out was, before we left the table, I had the lady come over and I said, "What do you fry your French fries in?" And she came back and said, "Beef tallow." And I had told her I was basically on a doctor mandated vegan diet. So she said, "Oh, the fries and the salad would be just fine for you." And it could have killed me, because the thing about alpha gal that makes it delayed is that the proteins have to break down. Like when you eat, let's say I eat a steak, and it has to digest and break down and go into the bloodstream before the antibodies attack it. And that's when you get all the histamines, and you get the anaphylactic shock if you don't have it under control. And but with beef tallow, it seems like it's already kind of broken down. Okay. And so it goes into your system a lot faster. So I had the reaction within 20 minutes.
This is just evil.
But it's not just food, it's medicine. So my doctor
I that's what I was gonna get to. Is talk about that?
So the same doctor that had the friend that has alpha-gal, he didn't know that he can't prescribe me capsules. I have to take tablets because capsules can have glycerin in them, or
The
uh,
gelatin stuff, right?
yes. And then I went to the pharmacist and I told the pharmacist my doctor accidentally prescribed this, but I need this. He didn't know what alpha-gal was. The pharmacist at Walgreens in my town.
That's
So there's not been the training
right.
for anybody in the medical and drug
That's the
business.
thing. They can think that, like the waitress, that I'm not leading her wrong here. It's a salad. It's fries, potatoes. I mean, but this could be life or death. And we've heard of stories. I remember somebody at Disney died from an allergy snafu, and this is and that's the thing. This is an allergy. It's not a disease. So there is no cure. There's just trying to make sure that you tiptoe through life without one of these mistakes becoming deadly for you. I just
It
it's
gets worse.
uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no, tell us. Here we go.
So when I said the fins and feather diet
Yeah.
should be safe,
Mm-hmm.
well, there's an additive that they use in fish to retain water, and they use it in lunch meat like turkey. It's called carrageenan, and it's from a red algae, and it has a protein or a carbohydrate that's so similar to alpha-gal that it will cause people to react. So it could be a thickener in like soup. It can be um, in you just have to look out for everything. Some people
Okay.
react to gum, like
Yeah.
guar gum and things like that are in your almond milk that you think is going to be safe because you can't have dairy. I mean,
Yeah.
I just spend hours walking around Whole Foods,
Okay. That's what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you, A, how do you shop? And I guess if I were in your shoes, I would probably have a set grocery list online and just reorder it constantly, and no substitutions. All of those of you at Walmart with the blue carts going from aisle to aisle, no substitutions. So, but no, you just said you. That's what I'm going to ask you. How much time do you spend grocery shopping every time you go to the store?
well, it's depressing to go in a grocery store. It took me months to get to where I could go in a store without getting mad. The psychological part of it. And it's not just that, it's cooking for your family. I like to cook for them, even though I can't eat it. I want to be able to cook what they want. They need red meat. But I can't do that either because I'm fume reactive. So if I'm standing there and I'm trying to cook a steak and the fumes hit me in the face, I get sick. So my husband goes outside and he cooks the meat outside for the kids, and I cook chicken inside for myself, and then we all sit down and eat something separate because they're tired of eating chicken with me.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. And I mean that's got to be awkward. I mean, right now, what's the temperature up there in Oklahoma? You're in the 30s today.
30.
I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
that can't be always convenient just to step outside and cook your food out there. But I mean, even the smells. I mean, this is
Mm-hmm.
I can totally understand 100% why you would be depressed, and why this would be such a mental weight. Never mind the physical, just the mental aspect of this. Okay, Kerry. This is okay. Let me ask you this, because and I was looking when I was getting ready for this conversation. They first discovered this in the early 2000s, but as we will discuss later in today's conversation, and you, by the way, Jenny, who you alluded to it, yes, yes, there's been a lot of tinkering with ticks for many years by your government, and we will get into that a little bit later on. Okay, so um, I wanted to ask you, how did Thanksgiving go for you? How does that work? I mean, at least it's turkey, but I'm sure there's a risk there too.
Yeah. I didn't eat much turkey because they don't have to necessarily disclose that they shot it full of carrageenan or whatever. We went to my daughter's FFA turkey dinner,
Okay.
and um, I had a tiny bit of turkey because I don't know what turkey they picked out. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have the dressing because it probably had, you know, turkey gravy in it. I had to have mashed potatoes with no butter or gravy on it. And I just had to decline anything that was good. like,
Yeah, I bet. I mean, now I don't know. It's probably not going to happen in your neck of the woods anytime soon. But on Martha's Vineyard, which is it falls under Drake County up there in Massachusetts. There is a county biologist, and I was watching an interview with him, and he was talking about it is so bad there on Martha's Vineyard that the restaurants have alpha gal friendly menus now. Now,
nice.
granted, that is Martha's Vineyard, and the stereotypical you can just imagine. But I mean, obviously, the rest of the country is probably not going to have restaurants catering to their clientele that way. But at least it has reached the level of awareness that we now have alpha gal friendly menus in at least some parts of the country. Okay. Um, Now, let's talk a little bit about your background. And I don't know how much of this you want to get into, but when we talk about ticks and little creatures and stuff like that, you you're not unfamiliar with them, correct?
Correct. So I have a degree in plant and soil science, which used to be called agronomy. And in
Agronomy, okay.
agronomy. And in that, a lot of entomology, a lot of biotech, a lot of physiology, a lot of chemicals, genetics. And then as as a college student, I was an intern for Monsanto with their Bollgard cotton, which is the BT genetically modified cotton, to where if the armyworm bites the cotton, then it dies. But if it doesn't feed on it, it doesn't die. So it's Bacillus thuringiensis is the naturally found bacteria in the ground, but they were able to make the cotton produce it. And it basically puts holes in the gut of the worm, the
Mm-hmm.
caterpillar, and it leaks electrolytes and dies. So they say, oh, so supposedly it's safe for humans because we don't have that physiology, right?
That's just a quick little gloss over. Supposedly, it's safe for humans. I mean, I'm not eating my T-shirts, but that seems risky.
Yeah, so before I was a retail sales manager, farm service manager in Northeast Texas and Eastern Oklahoma for Monsanto. Um, with the Bulgard program, the internships that I did, what we would do is there was a list of farmers and they had to sign tech agreements to have the genetically modified seed. And part of that agreement is that if you planted this BT cotton, you had to also plant so many acres of refuge, which was non-BT, conventional cotton. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason for that was so that if you have the armyworms feeding solely on BT cotton, they were afraid that they would only breed with other armyworms that were feeding on BT cotton, and they would get BT resistant
Uh-huh.
armyworms. Okay, so you had to have so much refuge so that the chances of them feeding a little bit over here in the refuge and a little bit over here this, and then they would breed and they wouldn't develop a resistant as quickly. But there was a fear that that would happen, and that's what we're looking at, like with Roundup Ready super weeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they genetically modified the plants so that when they were sprayed with Roundup, they wouldn't die, but all the weeds would. Well, in nature, there's always mutations and things. So eventually, the only thing left out there besides the Roundup Ready crop that you wanted was the weeds that were developing resistance to it. Then so there's in nature's going to find a way.
Uh-huh. Thank you. We learned that in Jurassic Park. So, man, and as someone who has had epic battles with army worms, I can understand the argument to try to defeat these little bastards. But like you said, man, we do so much tinkering
Mhm.
that, and we don't know where this stuff, there's no way to predict 100% where how this always plays out. Okay, well, bless you. I don't know. I can totally understand I would lose my mind. Like if I were to get this, do you know what were you out working? Like I don't know. I don't know if it's relevant here, but I'm just curious. What were you doing when you got that tick bite? Because this individual, he was out jogging. His wife said. I've got another story here. What did it say? I forgot how she got it. But remember how, like, I was always told as a kid growing up in the South, a very wooded area, woods out back of my house, that they would drop from trees. But that's not the case, especially with these Lone Star ticks, which I should put a picture up here. This and You know how where is it? Here we go. This right here. So this is the female one. This little yellow thing, that's only on the female.
Mhm.
So it's not like a dead giveaway. Uh, no pun intended. But it's like, if you once you see a tick on you, it's already too late 99% of the time. But these guys, the things that makes these Lone Star ticks so insidious is that they seek out humans, like
Yes.
or mammals. They seek out, like they are lying in wait for you, and they can basically see and feel their way to you. They're not just haphazardly flying to the wind. This
Yeah,
is
they will come get you. Yes.
yes,
They're not just laying wait in the grass like some, or
yeah,
flying, like jumping off of trees. They
yeah.
they will they're actually very aggressive and will come get you. And the thing about the Lone Star tick, we have them here a lot in Oklahoma where I'm at. And my daughter, when she was about 6, she got Rocky Mountain spotted fever from this Lone Star tick. That's how
Oh,
prevalent they are.
oh gosh. So the Lone Star tick, for some reason, I was just thinking they just carried the alpha gal. Oh my gosh, they're carrying the Rocky. Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
and that thing's been around too. Okay. If you let me read this a little bit from this story, and see if you want to chime in with any information here from your end. This is where is this from? Hell, I don't know. This one didn't tell me when I hit print. After the 11th doctor couldn't figure, does this sound familiar? Couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, Ashley Courtney broke down sobbing in the shower in May of 2021. She had been suffering through frightening heart palpitations, painful hives, and a poison ivy like rash all over her body for more than a year. For more than a year. So, I mean, obviously, they're very similar um, uh, uh, symptoms, but it seems like everybody gets affected somewhat differently. It seems like. So, I mean, did you have the constant poison ivy like rash, or you didn't necessarily have
Um,
that?
no, but being out in the I have allergies as it is. So
Oh,
being outside a lot, I was basically eating Benadryl. So I think it kept some of the hives and stuff down, but the
okay.
pain in my gallbladder area was just like it's so bad. It's like an ice pick stabbing you,
How were you
and
able
then
to
you
even
get
function every day?
just didn't eat until I got home at night, because I couldn't take the chance. I didn't know exactly what was setting it off because, like I said, for
Mm-hmm.
a while I thought I could eat pork chops. And right before I got diagnosed, my husband and I went to a barbecue restaurant, and um, I still thought I could eat some pork, just not bacon or sausage, not processed stuff. I thought I could eat a pork loin torn up. So I got a smoked potato, and I had butter on it, cheese on it, sour cream on it, and pork that was really greasy.
Uh
And
huh.
it was cooked in there with the brisket and everything like that, right? And within 3 hours, I was sitting at the emergency room. Like, you can't breathe. You hurt so bad, and like the heart stuff is what I never thought that was part of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
and
the doctors didn't.
right. Someone asked earlier, with the turkey. Why didn't you have turkey? And you explained that you don't know if they're shot full of what now?
Carrageenan. It's a similar carbohydrate found in red algae, and it can set people off. And it's, um, like red wine, the way that they filtered red wine. I think it's through like bone char. So
Yeah.
when I was out working, people would always get on to me about drink more water, trying to hand me bottles of water. I didn't know why, but if I did drink their bottles of water, I would feel sick. So I would just stick to my Yeti full of Diet Coke, and you need to drink more water. Okay, I'll drink a water. Then I feel sick. And I'm the boss. I have to stay at the job,
Uh-huh.
And come to find out that a lot of the bottled water is filtered through bone char, which has alpha gal in it. And the filter in my refrigerator, we're on well water, so I'll drink that. But I would never get a ice water made with the ice, and stuff that's filtered through the fridge.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know why. And all of it started to just make perfect sense. I had just accidentally figured out what I could, like the only candy I could eat, because a lot of candies have gelatins and things like that in them, no marshmallows, stuff like that. But I could eat Twizzlers, like the strawberry Twizzlers. Well, there's an app called the Fig app, and you have to pay a little bit for it. But you can type in basically any product that you could buy at the grocery store, and it'll tell you if it's alpha gal safe or not. And so, like wheat thins, I was able to eat wheat thins, and I ate those all the time. Regular potato chips, it's just potatoes, salt, and vegetable oil. I would eat those. So my diet was terrible, but I would eat a lot of spinach with ranch. Now I have to eat seed oil ranch, but it my body knew,
And I mean,
doctor just didn't.
right. I bet your grocery budget is insane. Trying to figure all this out. Okay. And if y'all have any questions, please put them in the chat. Someone said alcohol. I mean, that's probably, I don't know. I'd assume that's filtered through the bone char or the water for alcohol. Yeah. I mean,
some of it is. And so I mentioned earlier that I had allergies prior, right? So I had higher histamines in my body. And so they are linking a lot of people that have they had allergies before, they're more likely when they get bit by a tick to develop the symptoms of the alpha gal. See, you could have alpha gal antibodies in your already, but not have the reactions to it. So a lot of people, if you were to just go get tested, you might have the antibodies, but if you don't have the symptoms, then you don't have alpha gal syndrome.
How many people? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So they've also, they've found out that drinking alcohol can exacerbate it. Blood types, some people say there's something in the blood types with it a little bit, but it's not just the Lone Star tick though, because there's a different kind of tick like in Australia and around the world, and it can give people alpha gal syndrome as well.
And that app you mentioned to run it through to see if it's alpha gal friendly, is it's called the Fig app, FIG. Okay, and can you type in any allergy and then it'll filter it that way for you? It doesn't have to just be alpha gal stuff. How many people do you think are walking around with it that just don't even know, and they just think, oh, I'm whatever intolerant, or I'm it could be in their head that they're lactose intolerant or gluten allergy or something, and it might be this. I mean, this is just maddening.
Yeah, it's probably hundreds of thousands at least, because what can happen is if you have alpha gal syndrome and you've got all this inflammation and everything in your body and your histamines are really high, you can get a mast cell activation syndrome, I think it's called, where your body just starts attacking everything. Yeah. So some people that have alpha gal syndrome are also allergic to soy, which wouldn't make sense, or gluten. So they'll develop multiple allergies on top of the alpha gal syndrome.
Because their body is just in freak out mode, just attacking everything.
So a lot of people that were diagnosed with MCAT, with the mast cell syndrome, some of them are finding out that they had alpha gal. Some people that had irritable bowel syndrome are finding it out, GERD. Right. A lot of things that they thought they diagnosed. They're
Hmm.
probably, if they wouldn't have had a test done, they would find out. But that was the start of it.
That is, and so I was starting to get into the story here, and then I distracted myself here with so many questions for you. But this Ashley Courtney lady, she got pregnant. Then she was so imagine, ladies, imagine what you go through while being pregnant, and this lady while pregnant was itching constantly. She says I was itching to a point where I felt mentally crazy. She does CrossFit. I mean, so she's healthy. She said it got worse and worse. She says, "Does this sound familiar? I felt like I was allergic to existing."
Yes.
She said, "I thought if I didn't get help soon, this is going to kill me." After months of the baffling health nightmare, her hairdresser mentioned, and it sounds like just by chance, people are stumbling into this diagnosis. Her hairdresser mentioned that she should look into a little-known tick-borne disease that causes an allergic reaction to some meat products, alpha-gal syndrome. There may be people watching this right now, listening to this right now, who are like, "Holy crap, this sounds like my life. I need to go get tested." Let's see here. Now, it's largely, and we'll get into this, the geographics of this. It's largely in Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina. Those are the most reported cases, according to the CDC. She said, now listen to this. Listen to this, y'all. Quote, looking back, I was reacting to everything. Toilet paper, sugar, glycerin, and lotions and fabrics because they were mammal derived. She said, I would have a bite of a cupcake and have a heart palpitation because of the sugar. She said, adding refined white sugar is processed using, say it, Kerry?
Bone char.
Bone char. You got it. After 11 doctors blew her off, a different doctor suggested she get tested for alpha-gal syndrome, and the test came back positive. She then remembered her husband, Robert, had found a tick crawling on him at the local park there, and he soon tested positive for the disease too. She said that, so the husband says, my reaction is hives. I get them from head to toe. It lasts for weeks at a time. It's like poison ivy. He was getting it from taking Tylenol PM because it had glycerin in it.
Yeah.
Chicken and vegetables for this family. They stay safe by ordering vegan. She says, when we go out, boy, I bet this is you. When we go out, we really have to ask a lot of questions. I bring my vegan cheese to the restaurant with me. Oh my gosh. And this is just, I cannot imagine this. This has got to be, let me see here. Hang on. I think there's one more thing in this article that I wanted to read. Maybe not. I'm looking. Well, anyhow, I can't imagine this. It's a strict diet of eggs, chicken, salmon, rice, and veggies. That sounds like all she gets to eat now. Have you had to use your EpiPen? And if so, like, how often have you been in that position where you're like, holy crap, I got to do this right now?
I have not used it.
Okay, good. That would be.
I've had to, when I got stung by a wasp one time, I did have to go get the epi shot at the hospital.
Huh.
And so if people are allergic to bees and things and they're having any kind of reaction after eating meat, like in the night, they need to go get tested.
Yeah. Let's see here. This is interesting. So the Lone Star tick is, I mean, it's on the rampage nationwide here. In this alpha-gal. Listen to this. Kentucky, rapid rise in cases. Virginia, Arkansas, all of these have just in the last 12 calendar months reported a rapid rise in this. And now listen to this. Washington is getting in on the action on the other side of the continent. Maine. This is just this is becoming a big deal. And I'm sure if you don't already know somebody that has this, it sounds like it's getting to that critical phase where it's going to start affecting all of us one way or another. And I think the point is people are going to have to start getting tested. because and that's going to answer a lot of questions that that many people probably have, like, why am I constantly sick and what is it that I'm now allergic to? Well, ta-da, you might have had a run-in with a Lone Star tick and got the alpha-gal syndrome. Now, Kerry, I don't know, do you want to hang around here? I got a video here I want to play here. I don't know how much time you have today.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the video that I alluded to earlier, and we played this on my day job over at the Blaze, Pat Gray Unleashed. I remember we played this, I don't know, maybe it was a year or so ago. But it just kind of stuck in my mind. And then when I was doing this came back around when I was looking up stuff for this. And I was like, holy crap, that son of a bitch, here he is. So this is a WEF bioethicist, which just, I mean, if that's your title. And he's talking about genetically modifying humans. See if this sounds familiar. Again, Lone Star Tick didn't mean anything to me when I played this a year or so ago on the show.
Give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet.
Remember now, we're helping the planet. That's the premise here. We're going to help the planet. And keep in mind, one of the big issues is all the meat that us crazy humans are eating.
But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, you know, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you will become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
What the hell? I mean, these mad scientists, they're among us and they have access to this stuff. That's terrifying that someone even thinks like that. Okay, well, there you go. And his name, boys and girls, I had it here. I don't have it on this paper, but what is his name? Shoot. I had it earlier in front of me. But anyway, isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? We're gonna look, if we can't get you to stop eating meat on your own, we'll figure out a way to take care of it for you. By the way, Kara pointed out that we've got this is it says Longhorn. Is that is this the Lone Star, or I'm just going to make sure that you didn't type Longhorn and you meant to type Lone Star. Cases, so that tick has been found in Alaska, Connecticut, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Michigan, Maine, Ohio, Oklahoma, Kansas, Kentucky, and Washington. And boy, the vast majority of those states are up along the Atlantic seaboard. We'll get into that here shortly. My goodness. Never mind the food situation that you face. Are you much of an outdoor type person? And if so, have you just decided, it's not worth it, I'm not going camping anymore? Or just, I mean, I guess the damage is done, right?
Well, no. I'm more careful. I spray down every time I go in a flower bed or we go out back. My husband's paranoid that he's going to get it. He said he would just die. But you can't say, oh, I have it, because it could go away. Some people are lucky and they could have it a year or two and they'll stop reacting. And some people have it for life. And so if you get multiple ticks, so let's say that if I was lucky, I've had it 5 years at least. So if I was lucky and I got to where I could reintroduce alpha-gal products into my system without
that's what I was gonna ask you. Do you ever try to experiment to see if maybe it's winding down for you?
Yeah.
Maybe, and I'm not trying to be weird here. It's like, maybe if you're like, hey, you know what, I've got a long weekend at home, I'm going to be hunkered down here. You know what? Hey, maybe I'll try a little bit of bacon today or something, and just kind of test the waters that way.
I had some regular ranch dressing and
Okay.
I didn't die.
All
So
right.
I tried a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you get bit again, then you start all over.
Oh shit. I mean, it never ends, man.
No.
I want to just at least put this out there. Bill Gates and the WEF. I mean, they are working with ticks, but apparently it's just they're just trying to help cattle become more resistant. Just so you know. I mean, certainly Bill Gates has no track record where his thoughts would line up with that bioethicist we just played for you. No, certainly not. But there you go. So they're just working with the trying to make the cattle more resilient. Let's see here. Okay, if anyone out there is not familiar with Chris Newby, she is an author who suffered from Lyme disease, and her book Bitten. Please write that down. It is available in audiobook form on Spotify if you're interested. I know that. You should spend some time with that. Know your government's history with bioweapons. Let's put it that way. And she was able to, in that book, connect the dots and do some amazing research. It's Bitten, and somebody in this audience actually recommended that. I'd have to go back and check my DMs or something, and that was a book that was recommended. And but long before I even heard of the phrase Lone Star Tick, I thought I got to do a show on ticks, man, and the history of warfare, quite frankly. But just a quick little outline of that book. I mean, she goes through. There was this, if I recall, it was a former Nazi scientist who, does that ring a bell? Operation Paperclip, and came over here and did some bioweapons research, and it traces the history of Lyme disease and some of the experiments that they did with ticks. But what I wanted to get into here, rather than really go through her book, I wanted to read an excerpt from a recent Substack she posted. This is from last year, 2024. And here is the headline. So, Kerry, you want to stick around for story time here, or I'm just going to keep checking because I know you're very busy, and I want to make sure that you want to stick around here for this or not. Okay, so the rise of the Lone Star Tick. Did Army-funded releases of radioactive ticks ignite an epidemic of tick-borne diseases? Okay, now, before I read this isn't just some weird hypothesis on her part. She has research, she has documents, she has government paperwork that shows this. And just last week, Marty McCary of the FDA acknowledged this and said, yeah, we were absolutely doing this in the U.S. government labs. So here we go. Meet the Lone Star, Ableoma americanum. I bet Kerry knows how to pronounce that. She's probably seen that name many times. So the most badass tick in North America, she writes. Lone Stars are vicious biters with many competitive advantages over their deer tick cousins. They don't wait patiently on a grass stalk for passing prey. We talked about that. They have a primitive eyes that allow them to stalk mammals. On average, they lay more eggs than deer ticks. All three life stages of the Lone Star tick feed on humans, sometimes transmitting deadly microbes like the Heartland virus, the Bourbon virus, and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. One bite can trigger life-threatening allergic reactions to red meat. During the last half century, Lone Star ticks have rapidly spread from their original territory in the southeastern U.S. While some researchers attribute this to climate change and shifting land use patterns, I propose that there could be another factor behind the expansion. Army-funded experiments in the late 1960s where hundreds of thousands of radioactive ticks were released on the Atlantic bird flyway. In this series of experiments, a Geiger counter-like device was used to track how far radioactive ticks crept or traveled by deer or birds over months to years, presumably useful information if the military was using infected ticks as weapons. It always comes back to, you do want to stop the spread of communism, right? You do want to stop the Ruskies. We got to win the Cold War. We got to do what it takes. And I want you to see this. Plum Island up here, the end of New York, in the Long Island there is Plum Island. And they would release these. This is the flyway. for the birds, the migratory. Wait, look at there. And they down here in Virginia, see that? This is from her Substack, Chris Newby. Check it out. KRIS Newby. It's just fascinating. So 1967, 1969, they're released in Virginia. Okay, let's see here. Where am I going here? Oh, during the last half century, Lone Star ticks. Okay, during the Cold War, the U.S. developed bug-borne weapons by infecting fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes with disease-causing bacteria and viruses, in the Army's own words. In 1953, the biological warfare. So this is the Army's words. In 1953, the biological warfare laboratories at Fort Detrick established a program to study the use of arthropods, which is ticks, fleas, and mosquitoes, for spreading anti-personnel bioweapons agents. The advantages of arthropods as bioweapon carriers are these. They inject the agent directly into the body so that a mask is no protection to a soldier, and they will remain alive for some time, keeping an area constantly dangerous. And I misspoke. Plum Island is the location for a lot of crazy experiments. This one actually went the other way. I'm sorry. This one, they released them in Virginia. They were identified up there 2 years later. So there you go. Let's see. From 67 to 69, Daniel E. Sonshine, an associate professor of parasitology. That's got to be fun at parties. At Old Dominion College, and a contractor to the Army's biological weapons program, raised hundreds of thousands of ticks and released them in Montpelier and Newport News, Virginia, as well as in 2 canyons near Hamilton, Montana. That's in the book, big time. Montana. With the help from the Atomic Energy Commission, he also refined a technique for tracking the migration patterns of ticks in the wild by making the ticks radioactive. NIH scientist Willy Bergdorfer, also a bioweapons contractor, sent him ticks from his collection at Rocky Mountain Laboratory and taught him how to breed large quantities. The first step was to put a rabbit in a linen bag with adult ticks. I mean, where does Dr. Fauci get this kind of insanity? I wonder. Let's see. And then, after 24 hours, the time necessary for the majority of ticks to attach, transfer the rabbit to a wire cage and slide a large linen bag over the cage to prevent the engorged ticks from escaping. After the ticks had fed and mated on a rabbit, Sonshine picked off the females about to lay eggs and pressed them into a strip of clay laid across a microscope platform. Looking through the microscope lens, he used a 13-gauge syringe to inject the body cavity of each pregnant tick with a sugar solution spiked with radioactive carbon-14 or iodine-125 liquid. The females would go on to lay a clutch of 1,000 to 3,000 eggs, and each larval hatchling would be radioactive for the remainder of its 3-stage life. Why are we doing this? We're paying for this. When you hear stuff like this, I want to ask you, Kerry. I mean, does this? I mean. What does this do to you mentally as you think about your own suffering and how these mad scientists, this goes back decades. I mean, the government doesn't solve problems, y'all. It either creates them or makes them worse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you have a background in this stuff.
It's possible. They could take any DNA out of just like they did with the cotton I was talking about. Mm-hmm. They found a naturally occurring bacteria that they knew that if the armyworms ate it, it would kill them. Mm-hmm. And they were able to take whatever was in that bacteria, that part of it out, and put it into a plant for an insect to eat it. I mean, it's very complicated, and they were able to think it and do it. If they can think it, they can do it.
Gosh, I mean, that's just evil. It's just evil. So for this Newport News study, this guy planted poles to partition the woods into 47 equilateral squares, placing live animal traps covered with sticky tape at evenly spaced locations. 1,000 Lone Star larvae were then released inside each square. And over the next few months, Sonshine and his helpers returned to the woods to collect ticks from captured animals, from cloth flags dragged along the ground, and from the sticky tape. Each harvested tick was placed in a vial labeled with the location of the square in which it had been captured. Back at the lab, a technician would place the vials under a Geiger counter-like scintillation detector to measure the number of original release radioactive larval ticks in the batch. Adult and nymph stage ticks were marked with colored enamel paint and then released into the square where they had been captured. The paint would allow them to be tracked as they migrated. Over 3 years, 152,000 isotope tagged Lone Star ticks were released at the 2 Virginia sites. The sites were on the Atlantic Flyway, the migratory bird superhighway that runs along the eastern, South American, and North American coasts. Other studies, some by the CIA, and covertly run through the Smithsonian Institute. They've co-opted everything. Estimated that some migratory birds could fly from Newport News to Long Island in as little as 5 days. So there are some scientists that I'm sure in it to stop the spread of communism and win the Cold War for America. And I think some of these guys are just like, let's see what kind of freaks we can, let's see what we can do here. Let's experiment. And then it's not like the genie's out of the bottle once they're released. In fact, in that book by Chris Newby, it talks about how they were releasing from planes over Cuba, trying to get to Castro. I mean, just insane stuff. Okay. One problem with releasing invasive non-native ticks into a new area is that they transmit diseases to which the local animals and humans have no natural immunity. Shortly after the experiments ended, the first Lone Star tick was observed in Long Island, and it goes on and on. These experiments. She's got the receipts. I mean, the documents here. I'm looking at, flipping through. I've read enough, but I'm telling you, if you want to know about the history of biowarfare in the United States when it comes to ticks, mosquitoes, fleas, she covers this stuff inside and out. And the book, again, is Bitten. I want to hang on a second. Hang on. Any thoughts, by the way, Kerry? I mean, again, you're familiar with this stuff. You're not just living the horrific nightmare of alpha gal, but I mean, when you hear stuff like this, I mean, any thoughts there?
Well, when I first got diagnosed, I was angry at Bill Gates. Like I just wanted to blame somebody.
That is your the odds are, all roads lead back to Bill Gates. So the odds are
convenient.
And I'm sure, give it some time. A year, 2 years down the line, I will have a definitive show on Bill Gates and ticks, and a guest that can go through that. I'm sure. But you're saying your initial reaction was wise, but you no longer blame Bill Gates. Is that right?
Well, the official timeline of when he got into the tick research was 2021, 2022, and alpha gal had been around, known for at least a decade at that point.
Okay.
So I'm not sure it was Bill Gates. The other thing was, in order to let's just say this. When I talked to you 2 weeks ago before Thanksgiving, and I was like, I just really think it's a natural, progression, a natural thing, and that happened. But I was reading a little bit last night, and I came across something I didn't know, which is, I initially thought it couldn't have been engineered because the ticks feed on mammals. They have alpha gal, and then they eat. They feed on you, and they spit saliva, in you to keep it non-coagulated. And that's why they're such a good vector for diseases, because they're spitting into you, right? And if you grab them to pull them off, you're squeezing all that's been inside them, because they feed all 3 cycles. That's the thing about the ticks that you never want to do what they say, twist a tick off or squeeze a tick or burn a tick, because you just make them puke into you. Like everything that they fed on their life cycles, because the Lone Star tick, like a lot of ticks that transmit the alpha gal across globally, they feed in the larva stage, the nymph stage, and the adult stage. So they'll feed on 3 different hosts. Damn. So initially I thought, well, that, I remember looking at these things in entomology in college under a microscope, and they're just the most disgusting animals. But I thought, well, because they fed on a deer the last cycle, they molted, they came over, they fed on me, and they spit into me what they fed off the deer, which has alpha gal, right? The blood. But what I discovered last night is there's a lot of research suggesting that the Lone Star tick itself, and these other ticks like the one in Australia, in their saliva glands and in their gut microbes, they are actually making the alpha gal protein themselves. So they've taken ticks and they fed only on humans,
Oh,
So since when they hatch, they only let them feed on humans, which do not have alpha gal. We used to way back before we evolved out of it, but they had no contact with any mammals that had alpha gal, and they still
those little
supposedly found
freaks.
so they're making it themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like
So,
there's fungi that do it, there's bacteria that have alpha gal, there's algae that has it. They're thinking the ticks are making it. So that's when I kind of started to change my mind a little bit more towards that'd be pretty easy to do.
yeah, I was going to say, just because it may not have originated in the mind of Bill Gates doesn't mean he isn't helping to propagate it.
Yeah, that would be very easy to do. To take, like, if we could say, well, we know this red algae can create it, we can very easily put that function in a tick and make it create it itself.
Let me throw up some of these comments here. Jeffy's F-Zero Tornado. So yes, bioweapon initially developed by the U.S., likely now being co-opted by the WEF. Oh, absolutely. Especially when you hear some of these individuals speak. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. Jenny, I'm from the Tidewater, Newport News part of the area. There are local scientists who have said for decades that it was man-made. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I was looking for another one here. Oh shoot! Now I can't find it here. Shoot! But I want to read this other story because we talked about how Chris Newby, the Alpha Gal situation. This is a story that I found. This was just November 29th. So whatever day that was, Saturday. This was published Saturday. Again, I was just looking for Alpha Gal stuff, and oh my goodness, this popped up. This Gateway Pundit. Yeah, U.S. government-funded labs are actively breeding colonies of exotic hyaloma ticks imported from Africa to study Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, a brutal tick-borne virus with a 30% mortality rate that's never been detected in America. Why in the hell? Like, there is no war. If it takes this to win a war, then I guess just surrender, because this is stupid. The high stakes research aimed at okay, I'm sorry. This one is for, dear God. This is actually this reasoning is actually worse than we needed to win a war, y'all. It's aimed at developing mRNA vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
And analyzing transmission in livestock. It's raising red flags among experts who warn of catastrophic lab leaks. What? That could unleash the disease on U.S. soil. Oh my gosh, I've got to stop right here because I remember this story. Just keep reading, Keith, and I'll get to it. So multiple sites are establishing tick colonies to experiment on the transmission in cattle, sheep, and goats, assessing risks for the virus establishing itself here based on climate and ecology. You know what? Study it over there. Don't bring it over here to study it. I mean, what good comes from that? That's the stupidest damn thing. And by the way, Martin McCary of FDA said that AIDS likely developed in a lab in Africa. I don't know if you caught that last week too when he was on with what show was he on? Anyway, he spilled a lot of information on that show. Okay, so the White Coat Waste Project uncovered 10 existing USDA contracts to work on mRNA vaccines, including one that is studying this Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, a highly pathogenic tick-borne disease with a 10 to 40% fatality rate. The Highwire reports. The research grant is given to your tax dollars, is given to the Agricultural Research Service in Manhattan, Kansas. Okay, can I just stop right there? It's Kansas State University. I was up there in 2021 when they were building this facility. And I remember driving my buddy who was driving me around, giving me a tour of the area. I remember when we were driving by there, I said to myself, this looks like it's going to be ground zero for something really bad. And then when it popped up in this story, I thought, holy crap, here we are. It's the Wuhan of America. It's this research facility in Manhattan, Kansas. A combination with the researchers at the National Bio and Agro Defense Facility, which was formerly on Plum Island. That's where I was confusing earlier. Where researchers were studying Lyme disease. Yeah, near Lyme, Connecticut, where the first outbreak occurred. They've got these at UC Davis was mentioned in this article. Texas Tech has doing research here as well. Okay, so this Crimean Congo. I mean, just think of that. Look at that. It's on two continents to begin with. But let's bring it here too. It's the Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. It was first identified in Crimea in 1944. Causes severe symptoms and can spread from ticks to animals or humans or even person to person. I'm sorry? What's that? Person to person. That's a detail that I didn't see the first time I read this. No widely licensed vaccine. So that's why we have to study it, because we got to work on the vaccine. Who's going to make money off of that one? There is the story says, a dubious Soviet era one from 1970. I'm sure that works too. Funding flows from USDA contracts for mRNA vaccine development. Let's see. Dear Lord, how many of these players can we mix into one story? Eco Health Alliance, heard of them? Infamous for its role in COVID origins research, snagged a $3.7 million Department of Defense grant from 2020 to 2024 to study CCHF as part. That's what I should just start calling it. It's CCHF. That's the shortened version. As part of combating weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, it's always for the greater good. WCWP was the organization that first uncovered that the Eco Health Alliance was involved in gain-of-function research with coronaviruses. But they're not going to do gain-of-function on this. Come on now. It's not going to happen. The Wuhan Institute of Virology, approved by Dr. Anthony Fauci, as we know, which the FBI and CIA both state is most likely the source of the COVID-19 virus. Critics, crazy critics, listen to this. Critics are blasting this as reckless madness. Chris Newby, a Stanford science writer and producer of the Lyme disease documentary Under Our Skin, slammed the importation of infected ticks to livestock hubs, telling the Highwire, quote, "It seems as if many infected ticks are being shipped to Texas Tech, Kansas, and UC Davis, needlessly putting these centers for livestock at risk for a horrible disease that is not a threat at this time." Oh, buckle up, America. She highlighted past lab accidents like tick bites causing severe illness and unintended diseases transmissions, noting ticks are super hard to control, especially if you have an influx of new people who aren't experienced with them. This goes on. Why do we constantly? Why does our government constantly play with fire? They have more money. They're 38 trillion in debt, but yet they still have more money than they know what to do with. And these mad scientists getting these government roles. And just bad stuff, y'all. Why do we live dangerously like this? I don't know. Any thoughts, Kerry? Sorry, it's story time, I said.
That's okay. I'm learning a lot. What's funny is there's a genetically modified pig now that does not produce alpha-gal that they're marketing. And I'd love to know who developed that, because how convenient would that be to have all these humans allergic to pork, and now you're the only one that has genetically modified pigs that everybody can eat their bacon, right?
Wow. Listen to you. Hang on a second.
I've come a long way in a couple weeks. I've really been down some rabbit holes, but I mean, I could still make the case that there's natural reasons why, the deer population was increased and the ticks moved, and, humans have always had antibodies to the alpha-gal, since we deactivated that gene in the humans, right? Yeah. But the reason why, from what I found out, is the reason that humans decided to but genetically we deactivated the gene that makes it, is because there are diseases that have alpha-gal, like malaria and Lyme.
Oh.
Interesting enough, Lyme. Yeah, Lyme has alpha-gal.
I'm doing some quick, based on your hypothesis there, I'm just doing some quick research here. First, I looked up to see which companies were working on this genetically modified pork. Let's see, hold on a second. I'm just trying to see if any of these companies have any names attached to them. that we would recognize. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. Let's just take a look here. Oh, shoot. Well, I'm not seeing anything on a cursory search that would be something. All right,
So it's called Gal-Safe Pork. Oh,
okay.
Well, that doesn't really say who.
Yeah, I forgot. Safe pork meat. No, this is cool. We're researching on the fly, y'all. Bear with us here. I see
you
that.
Alpha Gal, this is all you do. You
bet.
And breathe and dream it.
Okay. All right. So Revivicor keeps coming up. Revivicor. Who owns Revivicor? Let's see. I wanted to say Bill Gates and flashing red lights here.
It's FDA approved.
Of course. Well, then
already,
if your government signed off on it, then it has to be safe, right? We haven't heard that one before. Oh gosh, listen to this. Oh my gosh, come on now, listen to this. This is a news article from May of 2023. Revivicor building new research and development hub in Southwest Virginia. Why would you want to be in Virginia? The place where they released all those ticks to begin with. So this is going to be interesting to see and to follow along as this story develops. And just be careful out there, y'all. And so, how you have, and I'm asking a serious question. How you have the off spray or whatever for mosquitoes and stuff. Do they have something like that? You mentioned spraying up before you go outdoors. Do they have like an anti-tick spray out there that works on all these ticks and stuff?
Yeah, I just buy the 25% DEET. There's off.
Okay. So the mosquito off spray stuff that covers all the little whatever the hell the things are called, all the little fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes, huh?
Yep, definitely. Spray the bottom of your pants, around your waist, anywhere they can get in, and then take a shower as soon as you get home.
Gosh, and say that again earlier about I've just never, no one's ever explained to me why when you're removing the tick that is kind of lodged into you, you don't just squeeze it and pull it. You have to be very careful because you don't want that shit getting in you and then having whatever kind of reaction, huh?
What I do now is I have those tweezers that have the little hook thing on them. And you want to get right up on the skin, and you just want to grab, it's like two little things that are stuck in like that. And you just want to get your tweezers right there, right where it's there, and just straight out.
Right at
its mouth. Its
mouth where it's hitting your skin, not back here where you can push that stuff. Yeah, because the body, that'll force it into you, right?
Mm-hmm. So all those old wives' tales about get a match and burn it out, you're just gonna make it regurgitate all of itself into you. Don't spin it clockwise or counterclockwise 10 times, whatever they said. Just get it right at the head and pull straight out, and get alcohol on it immediately. Take your Benadryl, because if you can keep your histamines down, then you'll have a less chance maybe of having the reaction, and then your body amps up with your mast cells to start fighting it, and then every time it sees alpha-gal after that. So the itch, this is how I see it, is you have a bad reaction to the tick, right? And your body starts sending the antibodies to it, and then it says, oh, next time we see that, we need to get that. So now every source that it comes in, not just on your skin and in your blood, in your, you eat it. Now, every time it sees it at all, it just ramps up to go get it. And it just inflames your whole body.
So correct me if I'm wrong here. I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. If you have an encounter with a tick on your person, you're saying take that Benadryl quickly, regardless of if you think it bit you or what have you, because if it did, you're going to trick your body, I guess, in a way, with the Benadryl. Am I saying this right? To keep your antihistamines down so that your body doesn't freak out, and then you have a problem for an allergy for how long?
That's just kind of my theory. Is I've been around ticks my whole life. Here I've always been active out, and I lived in Texas quite a while. But that one tick that I had that really bad reaction to, it could have been that I was already reacting to something else. It could have been that my immune system was down, but for some reason my body reacted to that one tick bite out of all the ticks I've ever had, and I've been bitten by Lone Star ticks a lot. So that's just my theory, is knowing that people with previous allergies and stuff and high histamines are more likely to get it. Because you can test positive, like I said earlier, you can test positive for the antibodies, but not have the symptoms. So, you know, there's so much we don't know, and there's so many rabbit holes you can go down, and
It's like,
there's endless reading. But
why must we? That's what's so frustrating. Is like, why must we do this? Why are there that we're paying for, by the way, scientists that are paid to come up with this kind of stuff? It's just like, it never ends well when you start tinkering like this. And again, and there's no proof that I'll say there's not a smoking gun necessarily that says that this, but common sense, I think, if you trace it back, at least I believe that this is all government created, and maybe it's not for nefarious purposes, but sure as hell has led to that, right? Well, nefarious purpose for Americans, but you know, hell, who knows anymore? Who knows? I'm sure it was all to stop the Russians, right? Anyway, it just pisses me off, man. It just really angers me.
well,
Kerry, yeah, go ahead.
the fact that you're having this conversation means that we know that if they can think it up, they can do it, and they probably will do it if there's a profit to it or whatever they get out of it. But I wanted to tell everybody that there's support groups for people. I learned a lot by a Alpha Gal support group on Facebook. So they're really fast. You know, I had to join it and tell them that I was actually diagnosed, because they want people that are actually dealing with this in there, and people that have good advice. But, you know, you could say, I ate at Charleston's and I thought it was safe. This is what I had. Anyone else have that reaction? And somebody from across the country will come in and say, yes, I narrowed it down to this is what it was that caused that. Or, hey guys, I need to know what baby formula, not baby formula, but any, what shampoos are you guys using that you found out doesn't have anything in it? Because there's so many hidden things. Like with the carrageenan, they don't necessarily have to tell you that's there. There's just so many rules around it. So, but it does get better. And my kids, and my husband, they still eat lots of steak and deer that he kills out back here with the ticks. And and I cook the deer meat in a crock pot with no fumes, and then I make the chili, and then they put the deer in their chili, and I eat the chili without the deer, and we just made it work.
Yeah, well, bless you and your family, and y'all be careful out there, and just let's keep an eye on this topic, and let's it's obviously on the radar. When you have the head of the FDA talking about this kind of stuff, that's a great change from where we've been in the past, as far as being able to openly discuss this kind of stuff without being yelled at as a conspiracy theorist. So, okay, y'all, be safe. Thank you for hanging out with us. Please tell your friends, and we'll see you here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Brad and Rebecca will join us for the Friday live stream. And Kerry, you're actually, I don't want to look it up. I'm not going to be able to find it. Tell everyone what your Twitter handle is, so if people want to find you on X there.
Okay, I am Kerry, Kerryo, and it's Kerry O 1776. So
is it okay? So is it
my maiden name was Kerry O'Neill, so it's Kerryo.
Is it?
And then
is that right? I'm calling you. I'm saying that you. I'm doubting your own recollection of your handle. I'm like,
it's at O'Neill.
Have I been tagging it wrong? Yeah. Okay. O'Neill. Thank you. Okay.
O'Neill Gypsy.
Yeah. So if people are looking for your handle, though, that's what I'm getting here.
Yeah. Oneil O'Neill. KA.
I was like, holy crap! I've been tagging the wrong person. I've been tagging the wrong. No, it's O'Neill. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kerry Toms, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone, have a great day. We'll see you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.